Let's take a look. We're going to get into Champions League for our first game in this best-of-5 quarter-final matchup here for the summer playoffs. And the first band's coming out. One of them aimed towards Jankos. Lee Sin here. Interesting choice to take away. We've seen that Jankos, most of his first bloods have been coming his way actually over on Lee Sin. On Elise. However, Lee Sin is his most played champion, albeit just by a couple of games.
Yeah, still a few changes to Lee Sin here in 4.12. Slightly weaker in team fights. His damage early game, however, is the same. Still being banned away. Focus from SUPA instantly towards Jankos. They talked about how he was the star player. And when ROCCAT win games, it's often Jankos who gets off the good start, snowballs some of the lanes, and then they do well as a team.
So, second ban coming out for the SUPA crew. Another interesting one, Kale. Research has been telling us that ROCCAT have been practicing this.
Yeah, it can both be played in top lane and mid lane. Overpower was known for Kale in the mid lane. And also tells me SUPA crew maybe wants to play Yasuo, seeing as they ban away. If they do ban Zilean here, it definitely looks towards a Yasuo pick.
Well, you predicted it right. Zilean will be taken away. On the side, Mundo, TF, and then Maokai as the final ban here by ROCCAT. So a couple of top lane bans against Selfie. Funnily enough, his most played champion, and you know, it's most played by a very, very long way. 16 games on Shyvana. His next played champion, next most played champion is Mundo with 3 games. Yeah. That's a ridiculous difference.
So ROCCAT had clearly been doing their scouting. Look towards Mima, 2 of his tank picks up there, and ooh, Kassadin was left open.
Yeah, kind of missed that one. We did it last week as well when Kassadin somehow managed.
You're so used to being banned.
It automatically you just think, okay, well, Kassadin must be in there somewhere, but Kassadin getting through this one. Question is, will Selfie run this one? We've also seen earlier today over in Korea that first pick Kassadin's coming in, then shifting him into the top lane later on so they can still counter pick against the red side mid lane choice. We'll see how that goes here though for the SUPA crew. Either way, Kassadin's Kassadin at the end of the day.
Did have a few nerfs lately, but he's still Kassadin, can still get completely out of control very fast. And ROCCAT, because knowing they will give the Kassadin away, instantly could have prepared the 2 next picks.
And that will be Kog'Maw. Not the safest of AD carries when people are jumping on top of you. Piled in there though with the Morgana, which we expected was going to be a hotly contested one, especially in this patch.
Yeah, so she's one of the few supports who didn't get any changes, where a lot of like Thresh and Braum got a bit weaker. Morgana stayed the same. Also been the best pick for Vander and Kazing here, so no surprise ROCCAT early picks it. And Celabar as well. ROCCAT, they love to early pick the AD carry. Last week, in Super Week, 3 out of 4 games, they first picked the AD carry for Celabar. They trust 100% in him being able to play the laning phase properly, or maybe it's because his champion pool isn't very big, so they want to secure his a comfort pick for him as early as possible. They also open up for SUPA crew now to pick their bottom lane.
And they're going to take at least Nami for that. We'll see if this Tristana gets locked in. Actually will, in fact, be locked in there as well. So definitely a bit of an interesting one. In fact, if we look back at last week's game between these two teams in Super Week, it was a Kog'Maw versus Tristana bottom lane, although, and actually in this exact order with ROCCAT having the Kog'Maw. Funnily enough, Lucian coming completely through this time around. Obviously being enabled for this week. Not going to be picked up by either of these 2 AD carries. What are ROCCAT now going to go for? Elise with Lee Sin banned out is the natural choice, I think, for Jankos.
Yeah, been actually, in my opinion, his best jungler, better than Lee Sin, because ROCCAT, again, as a team, love to use this Elise to fast push towers early. And Alistar just got locked in. Morgana's already picked. We have seen Overpower play Morgana mid lane once. It didn't work at all. And I did actually check Zazus and his solo queue games lately. There is 24 static shift Frozen Heart Alistar top lane, which clearly seems to be legit.
Well, if you're going to pick it in a game of this magnitude, then Zazus obviously will be feeling confident enough for that.
I would have last picked it though.
You also have to, last pick it. You also have to wonder as well, could this be mind games from ROCCAT? Because if you could find his games, so could the SUPA crew and figure that one out. Whether we'll see any role switches, obviously we have to figure that one out as things go forward. And look at this, the SUPA crew, what are they going to do now? Not trusting Kasing because he's always one for hovering over whatever. Renekton is a possibility. Although, again, another champion that we've seen less and less as the weeks have gone on.
Yeah, I would actually like to see Mimer log in Shyvana, but I do believe he wants Renekton because they have Cassidy in the mid lane, so they want a strong laner now up in the top side, so they don't have 2 weak solo laners early on, or somewhat weak solo laners. So they do pick in Renekton. Buys time now for both Tristana and Cassidy to scale because you have the early mid-game power from Mimer here. And then Kha'Zix for the jungle. I mean, we have seen Diamond play it where he evolves W. I've seen it in solo queue a few times as well. I wonder if Impaler's can do the same.
Well, it's a new pick. Certainly didn't play him in any of their 4 games last week in the jungle. Did actually head himself over to Jarvan in that last win against the Copenhagen Wolves. And Elise, who of course is banned away before that in 3 games just before. So then, let's see exactly how ROCCAT are going to piece this puzzle together. We've got Alistar in there, we've got Morgana, so one of those we're expecting to drop into that support role, and that's exactly how you predicted. If this Orianna gets locked in, it goes Morgana in the support role and Alistar with Xaxus in the top lane.
And look at all the protection here from ROCCAT. Celavar in these team fights is going to be so hard for SUPA to kill. You have an Alistar to peel, you have Orianna, you have Morgana to peel. Even Elise can peel for her AD carry. So very, very protect our hyper carry comp here from ROCCAT. But this Alistar in the top lane, we can just look at it when we actually get into the game. Because I'm very curious how Xaxus will actually play it in the top lane. If he's going to go Trinity Force static shift and just try and focus on split pushing and then teleporting in behind the enemy and set up fights here. They can of course do the delivery system. Orianna ball onto Alistar, jump into the enemy team and you just try and blow someone up. And SUPA on the other side, you got the early power from Renekton, and then you need Tristana and Cassidy to get past the weak mid-game point and into a late game. Otherwise, ROCCAT might be able to close the game in time.
Interesting to see as well how Impaler plays this Kha'Zix here. As we mentioned, he's not been playing Kha'Zix all that recently. Kha'Zix for me has been a champion that's been hit and miss when we've seen him in the past, although Diamond might disagree with me on some of that, but a lot of junglers have just stayed away from him.
So it's mainly because the playstyle for Kha'Zix is so different now compared to what it used to be. Now, if you do involve your W, you're all about poking and kiting team fights. In that case, when you have an Alistar engaging, if you manage to kite and avoid like the shockwave engage, then SUPA can maybe disengage, because they have Cassidy to chase, and then Tristana to get the reset, and then they can really start jumping in and pick up kills.
Interesting as well. Xaxus, as you mentioned, spotted him in solo queue, picking up.
I didn't expect him to actually play.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at his solo queue games all day long. To pull it out in the first game of the quarterfinal, where your spot at the World Championships are up for grabs, is definitely a ballsy move here from Xaxus. We're going to find out how it works as we get in game for our first match of the best of 5. It's a Super Hot Crew taking on ROCCAT. And this is going to be a really interesting one. We said it before that unlike the normal weeks in the LCS, you have a full week to prepare for one best of 5. And for me, that's where you are going to see the more maybe crazy strategies and picks. I mean, we've got an Alistar top lane here.
Yeah. And so Alistar top lane, in my head, shouldn't be very strong early game, especially not against the Renekton, if you do just in terms of laning one-on-one. He's of course very strong if he roams around, he has good sustain, but one-on-one against a Renekton, I'm not sure if he can actually deal or do anything against Mimer. But if he does go for the Trinity Force and the static shift, the trick is when you headbutt a target, you can actually auto-attack them in the air, and then you have the Trinity Force with procs, you have the static shift, and you have like this upfront burst before you activate your Q, and therefore you get like a head start in the small trades. And you can split push really well, because you have a lot of wave clear. But still, must be like a team fight pick, built around protecting Celavar. Of course, going to be very tanky in the late game.
And it's an interesting one as well. If you look at ROCCAT's games last week, if I run through the games that he's played with Kog'Maw against the Super Hot Crew, that win 1-0-3, the next game 1-2-0, after that 2-4-5. Not exactly hyper carry kind of scorelines. We'll see if they can protect him here today and whether Celavar can come up with the goods. Right now, though, it looks like ROCCAT may be going for the invade towards that blue buff. Could also be just to stick down those wards, although we're fairly late on into things. That blue buff going to be spawning in just a second or so, and it looks like ROCCAT are going to challenge and take that away.
Yeah, and Xaxus here, rune-wise, AP, Quince, I believe it is, and also for masteries, and then he started Flask, so he has 23 AP here, level 1. Let's see what he can do. They do actually lane swap, which does make a lot of sense because now Sauces can roam around on Alistar and doesn't have to be in a lane against Renekton, where he shouldn't be able to do anything here. So a little bit surprised SUPA didn't try to predict the lane swap, or maybe they were just happy saying, you know what, we can deal with this roaming Alistar.
And he's going to be sticking with Jankos in the jungle for now. And actually, Mima recalling, if you look down the bottom lane there on the minimap as well, we're also seeing, or were seeing recall. So we'll see if there's any switch up on that front. It may just be a case of Mima going to head into the jungle and actually do exactly the same as Zazas over the other side and just shadow Impaler throughout things. Although that bottom lane is now starting to recall, and we'll see then how that one all works out. Impaler, of course, did steal away the blue buff, so it was a simple trade of blues. However, he didn't finish off the camp.
Yeah, so he left a small minion here. ROCCAT would expect him to have cleared it, so SUPA had a timer now. None of the teams actually have the timer on blue buff just yet, and it also means Overpower will get his blue buff delayed compared to Selfie here, unless of course ROCCAT want to keep contesting for Subaku's blue buff. For now though, they are waiting for someone from Subaku to show themselves, moving towards this top lane here.
Well,
they're going Dragon.
Yeah, this is a very quick one as well. 3.5 minutes into it. 3 men on that one. Tristana is alone down in that bottom lane, just going to be farming up on that front, so should actually be joining in here in just a second, and this should be the Dragon going over. There is a ward there just on the top side of the river. Actually, we're seeing a very early teleport coming down to it. The SUPA crew saying, no, we don't want to get involved with that, especially with an Alistar who can get right into the middle, pulverize 4 of you, and that single TP, yes, it might cost Zazas in the near future in terms of getting into lane and what have you, although he's down the bottom side of the map now anyway, but he stopped the early Dragon attempt by the SUPA crew.
A very good response here, and it's what we need to see when there's lane swaps and we have these very early Dragons, because you take so much damage from it unless you really play it nice around the Dragon here. It means the other team can send down 2 members, 3 members, and stop you, which just happened here. So teleport down for Zasus, but Mima to use this up in the top lane anyway, and therefore we are going back to now, Mima farming in the top lane, no Dragon taken, and Jankos helping the cow down here in this bottom lane.
That mid lane choice as well, the Kassadin obviously first picked in, so Selfie knew that he was going to be up against something which will probably cause him problems in that laning phase, which you could definitely say Orianna is. However, we said it before that Overpower has been a safer player. If there's someone that's maybe not going to punish you for having a Kassadin in the mid lane, that might just be Overpower.
Yeah, at the moment, Selfie is slightly behind, but he does have teleport, so he can go back, heal up, and rejoin the lane if Overpower will let him. But he is farming okay in this mid lane. Overpower and Orianna should be looking to farm his own jungle camps as soon as possible. But look here, Alistar top lane roaming around.
Jankos going to join him as well. Can ROCCAT pick up another first blood? Actually, Selfie going to be low on mana here. There is the flash into the head, but didn't quite connect for Zazas. A flash away from Selfie will keep him safe for now, but for how long? Without a flash in that mid lane, only level 5 for now. So, I mean, once that Riftwalk comes in, obviously, he'll be feeling a lot more confident. But for now, dangerous times for him in that mid. And we saw him there actually trying to recall. ROCCAT stopping him, and now he's going to be in 2 minds. Does he stay and try and defend this turret, or does he back off with his life intact? Impaler had come across, so they'll be able to hold on for that for now. In fact, Kasing was there as well.
And this is what ROCCAT loves to do, especially when they have a release, is these early rotations between the lanes where they get some damage on the tower. Don't have to kill it, just get some damage, move on to top lane, move down to bottom lane, do the same thing. You fast push them out here, you roam around with multiple members, and it's one of the reasons I really like Jankos on Elise, because he's so active in the lanes. Yes, he gives up some farm, but if he gets lane XP anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Now Zazas has returned down to bottom. Funnily enough, all that roaming that he's done, 7 to 5 CS he's up. We actually saw Mima spending his entire time really up on that top side of the map. Does have a couple of levels advantage over him just because he was sat in lane that entire time. Also, both top laners using TP roughly the same time as well. Mimas will be slightly ahead of him.
But also keep in mind how much help Jankos has been giving Zazas here so he could farm, while SUPA has completely left Mima alone. Kasing stayed in the bot lane, even though he didn't actually do a lot after Zazas roamed away. And Impaler just been farming as well, not been helping Mima up in his top lane, so he has been denied a lot of CS. Now he's one-on-one against Celebar. We can already see him pick up a few CS.
That's the interesting thing from ROCCAT's side as well, that Jankos did spend so much time there, but he's pretty much level on CS and on levels himself, has got as much XP. So
all the lane experience.
Yeah, all that lane experience coming through, helping him out on that front. And actually we've got a bit of invasion play going on both sides of the map actually. Jankos and Vander coming across towards that blue buff. Same going on down the bottom side, but let's not forget the blue buff on ROCCAT's side of the map will be spawning in later because the camp wasn't taken away on the initial invade.
But look how SUPA crew already set up for when the blue buff will spawn. Pick wards, a lot of wards in general in the jungle of ROCCAT here to make sure the bottom side of the map is in their control. And ROCCAT has just been doing the same thing up here. Now they didn't actually clear the blue buff, so will be delayed for Selfie possibly later. And once again, Jankos fast moving between the lanes, always gonna join in with the wave, get some damage on the tower. Now to take it down, you can go towards the bottom lane, do the same deal, and go into mid lane where Cassidy doesn't have enough wave clear to respond if 2 or 3 members from ROCCAT suddenly shows up and the rest of SUPA crew isn't ready. So they're just doing this fast movements between the lanes, always with Jankos.
Now we see Overpower once again guiding a nice wave of minions in there, and Selfie not really got much to say about it. Actually takes the damage despite that Rift Walk coming out. Overpower playing this lane fairly aggressively here, and actually they've got the rest of the team starting to move up there as well. Impaler and Kasing have come around. Xaxus will join in, and there's actually a TP from Mima, really putting a big priority, sorry, from Selfie, I forgot that he had TP as well, putting a big priority on making sure that this middle tower doesn't go down for free as well.
Alright, so forced away the TP, can now send Silver down to this bottom lane and start doing the same deal, push out the waves here. And ROCCAT, again, we keep talking about how they love to move around the lanes here. But the cool thing for ROCCAT is it's actually very low risk, high reward, because you are 3 members up in the top lane. You know there's only maximum 2, the top lane and jungler from SUPA Haku, because you saw Kasing on the map. Therefore, it's not really in danger when you send Jankos top to push down the tower. It's not like he's suddenly gonna get collapsed on. And it's just the ROCCAT playstyle. Low risk, high reward. Otherwise, they don't do it. Because we have seen them many times give up objectives because they didn't feel like they were in a position to fight.
And that's the thing that we've always said is the thing to work on from ROCCAT's side, that when you've got a lead going into the mid and the start of the late game, that they have sometimes struggled to really close it out. There we actually see the smite from Jankos just to make sure that blue buff wasn't stolen away. So Overpower not going to get his hands on one this time around.
Alright, but Selfie lost his blue buff as well, so
True.
both mid laners can just continue standard laning and still very even in form. It is actually harder and harder to shut down a Cassidy, especially because of the magic shield. But it's all about the tower now for ROCCAT. They want to push down the lane, send in 1 or 2 members, get the tower down, and then they can focus on the bottom lane and then start getting some deep wards in the jungle of SUPA Hospital. Because again, we talk about how Cassidy and Tristana, not the best champions in the mid game. They want to kind of get past it and get to a late game where they can really carry games.
And speaking of this bottom lane now, we heard a little bit in the video that both teams didn't seem to have too much faith in one another's bottom lane, saying that it's possibly the weak point, that Mr. Oz in Spring was a beast and he's been somewhat quiet. So we're going to see Impaler coming in. Xaxus now is level 7, so he pops his ultimate, and we've seen the changes to the cow. He doesn't take any damage.
Doesn't take any damage here. We did see Impaler evolve his W, and now we did see the push in the mid lane from ROCCAT, as we talked about earlier. 2 towers down, all about the bottom lane. Already pushed down, they're just waiting for Jankos to make a move. There's teleport on Xaxus in case they need him to join in as well. And full focus on towers for ROCCAT here early.
Although it's Xaxus not getting first blood, he's been there all of a sudden when they wanted to push these 2 towers down. And always been working out for them up until now. Xaxus actually going to go in here, spot Mima, who has to pop his ultimate actually. Let's see how this one goes. Pulverize goes down. Mima going to dive in on top of him. Has he actually got the damage to kill off Xaxus now that he's got no ultimate? He doesn't, and that will be Xaxus simply walking away. Sheen actually was picked up as that first item for Xaxus. Mima only been back there once and picked up a blade.
And ROCCAT in terms of farm really won out on the lane swap. If you look at Celavar, he's ahead compared to Mr. Rallis. And also the cow in the top lane managed to actually get a lot of farm in the lane swap. So now they've swapped back. Yes, Mimir has been doing a good job now, catching up as expected on a Renekton, but still just the fact they actually do have 45 CS on Xaxus is a good thing for ROCCAT. And Lich been first item, so I do expect him to build a Trinity Force. I wonder then if it's going to go Static Shift as second item.
Well, Let's figure out. We're going to see here the start, possibly, of the Dragon. The pink ward going down. Vision from the backside going to be cleared out here. And ROCCAT going to start that one off nicely. Can they actually finish it? There are a couple of men hanging around on the backside for the SUPA Hot Crew, but nowhere near quick enough to get in to stop it. And there is the first Dragon of the game, of this full best-of-5 series even, going over to ROCCAT.
Yeah, so ROCCAT, remember, didn't even lose the Dragon, even though they were the team to lane swap up to the top side. Managed to stop SUPA Hot Crew from the Dragon. Mimer was just no ultimate, he was down to 50% HP, he couldn't really join in for a fight. Zazels had already been back to base, and also SUPA Hot Crew was just not in a position, actually. An easy Dragon here for ROCCAT.
Celebat just going to be sitting back, 110 CS for him. He's been averaging, if you look at the 10-minute mark, around about 81 CS at the 10-minute mark, so doing really well this game around. Has a 10 CS lead over his opponent, Mr. Ralls. Mid lane, you have to give credit to Selfie. He's got past that point where Oriana could have really bullied him away, and he's managed to keep that one, for all intents and purposes, level now.
Lost the tower,
True.
but kept even in farm here, so ROCCAT not putting a lot of effort into trying to stop Selfie from farming. We only saw one gank early on, where they got some damage on the tower, and then actually left Selfie alone to just sit and farm. Which means SUPA Hot Crew, if they do manage to buy enough time, will get the items they need. We got early T already, stacking up here. Rod of Ages, gonna be a bit delayed for him. But for now, he's just looking to pick up all the farm he can, and we have to see if ROCCAT actually wants to be very aggressive once they take down the last tower. Because the wave clear on the side of SUPA Hot Crew, you have Tristana, but there's no early static shift, which means if ROCCAT does group early on, there's actually not a lot of wave clear on the side of SUPA Hot Crew.
And the interesting thing as well from the SUPA Hot Crew side, if you think back to last week, their first couple of games, we talked about the fact that, especially the Rengar game against ROCCAT, I believe it was, that Impaler didn't really do a lot. He didn't really show up on the map. We've come to expect that the SUPA Hot Crew have kind of changed their focus away from bottom lane ganks to middle and top, but Impaler's not really been anywhere on the map up until now. And he's behind in farm.
Behind in farm, had one gank in the top lane, forced an ulti, and then he actually just went back to the jungle, and we haven't seen him not been in the lanes to trying to defend the towers whenever Jankos was moving around here. So it's just been way too easy for ROCCAT here in the early game to take control of all the lanes, take control of the towers, and get this goal lead they have. Because the next Dragon spawning, they have the timer, they can be ready, ward up, and again, just wait for SUPA Hot Crew to make a move. If they do move in for a fight, ROCCAT, because they have the goal lead, should be in a good position to take it. So, not a good start by SUPA Hot Crew. Let's see what Jankos wants to do.
Well, there are wards down, yeah. Wards on both sides there. One in the tri-bush, one on the side bush watching. Impaler is hanging around here though now, so we could see first blood possibly coming out as we see Black Shield. He's just going to block out everything. Actually, Mimer coming down. Selfie's going to be there as well. Counter TP from Zaz is coming around, and ROCCAT are going to try and turn this one around. They managed to catch him. Selfie. There's the knock-up, and the first blood for the top lane cow.
Top lane cow. Mobility boost, teleport down. It was 4 members from ROCCAT against 5 from SUPA Hot Crew. As soon as they saw the teleport, everyone just ran away. And Selfie was caught. He died. He had flash and everything. Now second or third tower for ROCCAT. Things are looking good, and SUPA Hot Crew, they need to wake up.
They need to wake up really quickly here as well, because ROCCAT have got 4 minions coming in with them. They've got 4 players. They could have a good go at this turret. Only Impaler is there right now to actually stop the ROCCAT damage coming into this one. There is finally the teleport from Selfie coming down. Mimer uses in that last fight. Damage, double TPs coming in. But ROCCAT, either way, good push. One thing that impressed me there, Mr. Ralls, and there's the vote, actually, 62% over for the SUPA Hot Crew. Something tells me that might be changing here in the next moment. There's the flash in, and he misses it. Kassim just sidesteps it and says, well, I think I can count myself lucky. I want to go back to my point about that bottom lane. Well, it wasn't really much of a fight, the first blood and the turret going down. Mr. Ralls was sat on the BF sword compared to the Trinity Force. They actually hit him with the Cogmore ulti just before he was going to go back and kept him there. So they had a massive advantage when it came to the damage coming out the AD carries as well.
Very, very true, but we're still 5 members from SUPA Hot Crew.
True, 5 versus
and as
4
a
either way.
With Flash, You should never be caught out. Like, never. The rest of the team backed away. Selfie stayed a bit too long. He got caught out. Believe it was a good binding from Vander. Flashed in, and then, of course, Xaxus joined in as well and killed him and the tower here. And now with these Trinity Forces, should be completed on Alistar very soon as well. We always talk about how Trinity Force is like the first power spike you get here in the mid game. So at this point, Celavar is a lot stronger than Mr. Alice. And therefore, ROCCAT once again can look to make plays.
Selfie trying to do some damage to Overpower.
Mid lane too. I mean,
Not
again,
really.
Selfie, he needs to stack up now. He needs time. Where Overpower can already team fight. Yes, okay, you want your death cap. Sorry to interrupt you, by the way. You want your death cap on Orianna, but still, he has more damage than Selfie, and ROCCAT can look for these team fights now.
Taylor just clearing out a ward. Vander getting a little bit close there. Did have Celavar as a bit of backup, and they know now that pink ward is there for the taking a little bit later on. Super Hot Crew actually coming back towards that bottom lane with their duo. No tower behind them, so need to be very careful about that one. We see that Jankos has actually been spotted. I think he may have just been trying to clear a ward out. He was, in fact, and gets one down of his own. That's because this Dragon's coming up next, so all 4 men there down the bottom for ROCCAT. Xaxus doesn't have teleport though, and Mima, where is Mima? Mima's already there.
He's there. Xaxus shouldn't be sitting in the top lane here. They got the first Dragon, they had the timer. He should have been down with the team. He's running down from this top lane, but he's going to be joining very, very late.
Coming down to it, but can they hold him away? We see the ultimate used out of Kasing. That might be a big factor when it comes to fighting here for the Super Hot Crew. And there is Xaxus, just going to knock Selfie away. Has to run, he's got his ulti available. Will give him lots of protection as a shockwave comes in. They're actually going to try and go for Mima here. Xaxus up at the front will headbutt him away from the rest of the team. That might be enough damage onto Mima for the ROCCAT to be able to wedge themselves in and take Dragon.
And we did again, just see the idea behind Alistar top lane. When you have your Sheen and you headbutt him and you hit him in the air, you get the headbutt damage and the Sheen proc. So actually some very good damage onto Selfie as the very first engage. Of course, the late game, you don't really have a lot of damage, you just become this super tank you can feel. But onto the Dragon, Impaler down his bottom lane, going in.
Trying to get in, but it's going to be ROCCAT that get it, and now Impaler stuck inside of the Dragon Pit will go down. That's a 1 kill once again for the count. Mima is going to fall, and now the rest pile in. Mr. Alta's joined though, and that's going to be a kill back for them. Vander is low too, but they do kill off Tristana. Selfie will have to try and escape, or maybe try and mop up Vander. They're chasing Kasing, but he's managed to speed himself up, and now they turn around. They're going to have a go at Selfie. He's going to run into no man's land. ROCCAT may chase, or may just let him go. Hard to track down the Kassadin.
Teleporting. Okay, again, force teleport. You get the timer, minions on him. Super Crew could have gone for the steal, but should never have gone for the full team fight. They are behind in goal. They're weak at this point as well. Just if you look at the comps, they jump in, misses the smite here from Impaler, Dragon for ROCCAT, and now the team fight. It's so easy for them to win. Mima goes down very, very fast. Mr. Rice even jumps in to try and get a reset. Gets 1 kill, but that's about it. Damage is gone now. Selfie's not able to join in for the fight again. Kasing managed to escape, but ROCCAT winning the fight, get the Dragon. Look at the gold.
And Kasing actually flashing over the binding there as well. If that would have landed, that would have been 4 kills coming down for ROCCAT. They lead this game 4-1 in kills, 31 to 20, 6,000 gold at this point, 20 minutes into the match. Let's have a look down some items now. You were talking about Orianna's death cap. That is now done. We see the makings of the blade for Celavar as well. Top lane, looks like Static Shift's coming next for the cow.
Okay, so split pushing cow, who then just teleports in behind you. You get his horn in the ass, and it hurts. And then you have a shockwave from Overpower, and you die. If you are out of position here, so it is actually pretty legit. 2-0-2, top lane Alistar, quarterfinals. EU LCS.
It's very interesting to see whether it's warranted a ban so far. Obviously, we'll see that when we come to game number 2. If you're just joining us, of course, this is just the first game of our best of 5 quarterfinal. The winner of ROCCAT and the Super Hot Crew will go on to face Fnatic at Gamescom for a place at Worlds, essentially. You win that semi-final, and you're on your way to Asia for the World Championships.
I mean, Mima said it so well in the pregame. If we lose, suddenly we fight for relegation, or to avoid relegation. If we win, we fight for Worlds. Massive difference here for the teams. The quarterfinals are so important. Because again, remember, the 2 losers face each other fighting for number 5 in the standings, and if you lose that game, that's relegation.
Selfie there. Pretty lucky in my eyes. Hit the rift walk just as he saw the cocoon coming out. Did hit him, but he'd already made the jump over the wall. If that would have hit him just a split second quicker, that could well have been a dead Cassidy. If we look down the side of the Super Hot crew, that single kill that they have with the support right now, Kasing, could really do with picking up a couple of those, a couple more kills just to give them some boost in items, because they are falling dangerously far behind at this stage, and that is the tower going down as well. And if you look at a team that's got the likes of a Cosmore, you have to pin back for as long as you can. This is dangerous territory to be in, falling behind so early on.
Yeah, good job by ROCCAT using the siege they have with Orianna. Celebar as well with his long range. You have a black shield to avoid pretty much any engage possible. And of course Elise, jungle once again. Yenga's been part of every single tower.
Funny as well, because...
Why do you ban Lee Sin?
Yeah, ban Lee Sin, his most played champion, totally understand that one, but Elise has been the one that he's really come out strong with. And yes, she's had her changes, you know, Cocoon's harder to hit, or maybe you could even say easier to hit, depends how many minions and how you have to thread that needle through them. So far though, Jankos has been in form for his team. Not got a first blood, but I'm not sure that ROCCAT really care about that when they're approaching a 10,000 gold lead. Super Hot crew actually pushing towards mid. Not going to get anything there, though.
Now, while it's looking very good for ROCCAT, we have seen in the past, they tend to slow down a little bit. Take it very, very safe. No risks. And it buys time for the other team to get the farm they need to get into a late game point. Just think back to ROCCAT vs Alliance, where ROCCAT was so far ahead at like a zillion mid lane, Corgi 80 carry, full mid game comp, 12,000 gold ahead. Didn't manage to finish it. Alliance came back, won the game. Super Hot crew will be looking to do the same here. You need to static shift now on Mr. Alice so you can sit and wave clear and just farm as much as you can and not get caught out in your jungle.
Cocoon lands on 2, they got the damage. There is a rift walk into a flash from Selfie, so close to going down. Having to use that summoner spell, and look at ROCCAT. They're moving straight towards this bottom lane. The cat will be able to clear out the wave quick enough, and that is a 4-man push. Mr. Alls and Kasing, the only 2 to try and defend it. It is going to go down. Super Hot crew get 1 in return, but it's the outer turret in the top lane.
Let's see, Super Hot crew actually managed to trade 1 for 1 and just hold ROCCAT where they are. And actually, everyone's going to recall, so ROCCAT now going to go back, spend some gold. Static shift just picked up for Xasus on Alistar. If you told me the day before we would see this from a top lane Alistar, wouldn't have believed you. But it's working for now. Let's see if he can actually duel Mimer. No.
Well, the spotlight was on Xasus there, and not quite what he was looking for.
Come on, smack him.
And, well, that static shift now coming in, you can see a lot of movement speed for the cow. Did manage to knock him away with a head, but as you said, no auto attack to follow up for damage. It needs to be a bit careful here. 3 men from the Super Hot crew starting to move around. Selfie actually will be forced away. And look at this again, ROCCAT making a fantastic decision. They see that there are people up top. They go straight in for the dragon. Mimer even lost half of his HP there to Xasus.
So as soon as we looked at the dragon, Xasus went on Mimer. Oh, he might be in trouble.
He might, but he saved that pulverize here. He's going to use his ultimate. Will that be enough damage reduction to get him away? Selfie now moving in as well. Xasus slowed. Flash comes in. Here comes Vander from the side as well. He's the only man there though. But 2 versus 3, they've managed to force the Super Hot crew to disengage.
70% damage reduction is so strong here. Alistar didn't go down. No tank items yet. Didn't even matter. Onto this tower again. Headbutt, auto attack, and you have this burst from static shift and a shield. The whole idea behind this Alistar build. I do expect him to go tank now and just keep these 2 damage items as everything he needs.
Well, maybe he'll surprise us and go for something different.
A hurricane. Smack everyone.
Hurricane out, yeah. Not quite going to work out for him. But we see the health coming in, so it looks like we will be seeing some more tankiness. If we look over on the other side, a lot of half-completed stuff, really, for the Super Hot crew this far behind. Tiamat start for Mimer after having a tough 1v2 at the start. Never really putting down the power of the Renekton and having that early to mid-game bullying session that you'd expect from him. And on that same token, then you have to just say, why not Shyvana at the end?
Yeah, we're definitely being better now and heading into late game. the lane swap from ROCCAT. It's again why I was a little bit surprised at level 1. Yes, okay. Invading in on Morgana, Elise, and Alistar is probably not the smartest idea because the level 1 potential from ROCCAT, if you manage to lock down the target, is so strong. But the fact that SUPA crew, or the fact that ROCCAT managed to get the lane swap, meant the Alistar pick certainly could work, and also made Mimer very, I would almost say useless on Renekton at this point, because he didn't get his laning phase. Early game is gone. He's now looking towards the late game all of a sudden.
We've seen time and time again that he can't fight the cow. They do both have teleport available though, and we've seen ROCCAT already starting to sweep Baron. Really like the ward placement up there as well. They have a pink ward outside of the Baron pit, and they have a pink ward inside of the Baron pit, just to make sure that any sneaky wards that could have been placed around those corners where Vander is standing will be spotted out. They have full vision control. There's a Cocoon jumped away from by Impaler.
And this bottom lane, Selfie, once again. Ulti for Xaxus, he backs away, and now Baron. There's the teleport, however, on both members from Super Hot Crew.
Double TP available. ROCCAT actually did start it off. We're going to have someone coming in. Actually cancelled there. That was Mimer that cancelled his TP on the top side, so they still have Selfie to come down into that one. Xaxus has his teleport available as well, so we'll see here if ROCCAT are going to dare go in this one. We've said it time and time again. It feels like a broken record kind of thing over the course of this split, where ROCCAT have had control of games and been so scared, really, of closing things out. There's Mimer once again being knocked up, taking a few turret hits. They're trying to bait him in because Selfie's come around the side as well. Xaxus loses half of his health and is able to just hang on, really. And now Overpower coming in can't really do too much against that mobile Kassadin and Renekton.
We did see, however, once there's no ulti on the Xaxus, he's very squishy. One combo here from Selfie, he was down to 60% HP. So it's what Super Crew can try and do. First gank, and then once ulti is gone, try again with the double teleport they have, which is very strong in the late game. Overpower won't be able to help. He needs to be with the team around Baron if they're baiting it, because otherwise he has to run the entire way from the bottom lane to Baron. It won't work here. So Super Crew with the double teleport definitely has the tools to try and stop Xaxus in this split push.
ROCCAT actually lost vision control of Baron as well while they were at it, and they're going to try and remedy that now. Getting another pink ward inside of the pit itself and clearing that one out there just around the corner. 1 minute 50 until another dragon comes up, which ROCCAT have been very insistent on piling up the kills onto that one. See some other items coming in as well on the side of ROCCAT. Blade of the Ruin King for Celever, I believe, was done a little while ago. That Zhonya's Hourglass now added in for Overpower. So 3 items. He's going to do a lot of damage whilst being safe as well.
And ROCCAT still staying around his Baron here. Nobody using the teleports. Just trying to bait Super Crew to actually face check them and get the fight they need, but every time they get managed to place a ward, they buy some time for Super Crew to just wait. Oh, Selfie!
And he calls out
what
for this one. There's the follow-up of the CC. Have they got the damage? Jankos goes over, gives Celever the vision, and they catch out Selfie.
He didn't even have a ward.
It's been a story of the Super Crew so many times throughout this split, and now ROCCAT just turned straight on towards Baron. Super Crew are actually pushing up the mid lane here. Gonna possibly take an inner turret whilst losing a Baron. Impaler's still hanging around there. He's going to have to be the man that steals this one away. He's already used one charge of his ultimate. Goes off to the backside. You see ROCCAT just trying to body block this one of the Void Spike to go through Impaler. Trying to get around. He's going to get hooked. They dive out the back. Baron gets picked up. However, the Super Hot Crew have taken that inner turret. They're now working on the in-him turret as Kasink flashes away as well.
So Super Hot Crew here, while they lose the Baron because Selfie, I have no idea what he was doing. Walks in by himself, face checks them, and oh, Super Crew, you did.
Yeah, well, at least one of them is. Mimer's going to try to escape from this one. Let's see if they can get away from the next combo of Xaxus. It's a flash that's used. Nice sidestep of the find him. There's the ultimate coming out from Vander. Xaxus is on top of him as well. They can chain that CC through, and they get the 2 kills. Yes, they've lost that in-him turret, but it actually puts them now almost just a smidgen of gold away from 10,000 gold lead.
So the Baron dance here paid off for ROCCAT again. Selfie, no ward, just walks in to check. 4 members of ROCCAT dies, once again, has flash, doesn't use it on the binding, gets hit by the binding, and then it just gets chain CC'd by ROCCAT. When you have released Morgana, we always talk about how land the first cocoon or binding and then follow with the next one. People are just locked down for like 5 seconds. It's so hard to deal with. Unless you have flash, and you can flash the first one and avoid the second one.
have a look here on this inhib turret, which Super Hot Crew, against all odds, managed to take ROCCAT out with that last Baron takedown. Celiver's a little bit low there, so definitely want to be careful of it with the danger of Kassadin diving onto you, Mima maybe being able to get in there, and Kha'Zix, of course. So they back away, gonna steal away a little bit of jungle, get some buffs, take themselves another dragon on the way out. I'm guessing that there's a lot of gold to spend here. Yes,
oh, yeah.
Everyone has a hell of a lot of gold. That's only going to be more here as another dragon goes down. You can see 3k on the AD carry, 2,000 on the mid laner, jungler, and top laner, and the support is not far away from that. That's another spike here in power that's going to happen for ROCCAT with the Baron buff still running as well.
And Mr. Rallis actually went for Phantom Dancer here on Tristana, and not a static shift to provide some more wave clear. So full focus for him on towards like late game team fights, where Phantom Dancer will give you more damage than a static shift, but less wave clear. So it really tells me Super Hot Crew just want to try and play the side lanes, like we have seen before here with double teleport, and hope ROCCAT is going to send members to try and stop the push in the side lanes and therefore not push down as a group. But when you do have an Alistar, who just picked up a Frozen Heart, that's a lot of armor, and his ulti, 70% damage reduction, you can dive on the Super Hot Crew. If Cocoon or Binding lands, expect ROCCAT to just go straight for the dive and kill whatever member they lock down.
With that last purchase, actually just to run quickly down the list as they start this siege up once again, it was the Banshees for Jankos. These bubbles come out here, that turret's going to go down. Banshees for Jankos, Last Whisper for Celiver, Frozen Heart for Xaxus, Void Staff for Overpower. That's some big items coming out, and ROCCAT here are going to be able to take the inhibitor down, and I'm assuming just going to move simply around to that bottom lane. Top lane still actually has an inner turret left standing. The waves are pushed up on both lanes to the midpoint of it, up to the river, so that gives the Super Hot Crew a little bit of time here to regroup.
Super Hot Crew, they need to just try and fight, to be honest. They don't have the wave clear to stop ROCCAT from taking down the towers, especially not with the Baron buff. So they have to just try and put Selfie on the side so he can like flank around ROCCAT, and then just have everyone else pile on someone like Celiver. Try and kill him instantly. You're not going to kill Alistar. Orianna has an hourglass, she's not going to die either. It's all about trying to kill Celiver here, but then you need Selfie in a position where he can actually jump in from the side or behind him. And at the moment he's standing in the base. So let's see if ROCCAT want to go for dive or just look to hit the tower every time they have the chance. The wave is not going to die very far.
Well, Celiver already chipping away on that tower to bring it down to about half HP. Xaxus up at the front with his Frozen Heart. Gonna take Mr. Ralls, or gonna cause him problems certainly. Need to be very careful about how close he actually gets and how close the cow gets. There is the Cocoon landing. Binding actually will follow up. Will they go in for it? Xaxus actually does dive in. You see the damage there out of the top lane cow as a tidal wave is used. Bubble will land, but there's no follow-up here from the Super Hot Crew. Worth noting though, ROCCAT's Baron buff is now gone. Well, look how low that tower is.
There's one more wave here. Mid lane is, oh, Shockwave on Mimir. Managed to escape and they go.
Mr. Ralls going to get caught out though. He's finished off. His Xaxus against that to go on a rampage. They've got super minions hammering away now on the Nexus turrets as well. This could very well be game for ROCCAT. They're going to be finishing off that second inhib. Nexus turrets are absolutely melted through. Super Hot Crew with 4 men left up to try and defend. Not going to pull it off. And ROCCAT pick up game number 1. Move one step closer to the semi-final.
So remember, Maokai and Dr. Mundo was banned against Mimir in the top lane. He ended up picking Renekton, which did nothing because ROCCAT got the lane swap early here. Super Hot Crew were afraid to invade in level 1, play some deep wards because you were against Alistar, Elise, Morgana, all the CC. They couldn't invade. Even Orianna of the ball is so annoying to deal with it at level 1, which meant we got the lane swap for ROCCAT. They got Alistar away from the Renekton. All of a sudden, Mimir ended up doing nothing, and Xaxus on this Alistar did everything.
And was that then the reason for that Mundo pick that we were thinking? Now, we can look through these statistics and see Mundo is the second highest played champion of Mimir.